Welcome to the Built by Will podcast. I am here today with James Boria, who currently holds the record for bear crawling a marathon, bear crawling 31 miles, and is an overall great human being. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Built by Will podcast. Today's guest is James Boria. James is the new world record holder for bear crawling a marathon and bear crawling, is it 31 miles, James?
Yep, an ultra, yeah.
That's awesome. I know you and I met through social media, through some common friends. We've had a lot of great conversations, a really deep conversation that meant a lot to me, and so I appreciate having you on today.
I appreciate you having me, man. I'm excited for this. Thank you.
Yeah. So going into this, me and James both talked about, our lack of hair up top, and that he's growing a super mean mustache, and I'm just trying to keep my beard strong. And so, but besides that, I feel like one of my favorite things about you is having a common work ethic, right? I feel like, as douchey as it may sound, that it's hard to find people that are kind of in the same realm, and it helps so much finding people that are a lot like you mentally, and I feel like you're definitely one of those people, and so I'm super excited to hop on and talk to you today.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Likewise, too. It's, especially being young, being 24, it's not easy to find people at this age that are trying to advance their life and do some uncommon things, so I appreciate our friendship, man. I'm excited to jump into it.
Absolutely. And so the second part of the Built by Will brand that not a lot of people understand, because obviously my name's Will, and so you're built by me, but also second big part of my brand that's always been there since day one is that you and all my clients and everyone else is built by you. You're built by your will to change, your will to go against the odds and fight them. And with you being the new world record holder for bear crawling a marathon, I think you were absolutely one of the most important people to have this conversation with. And so to get things started on a very, very base level, I want to ask you, what does willpower mean to you?
That's a good question, man. Willpower to me really is the ability to dig deep, to weather a storm, and to get the outcome you want or the life you want or anything for that matter, no matter how difficult circumstances may be. So it's really just the ability to dig deep and find a reason why, and find a reason to become the person you think you're supposed to be when things don't go your way.
Absolutely. I like the concept you said of weathering the storm, because that's something that I was talking with one of my clients today, is that, there's already so many things naturally that are going to pull us down in this life, whether that's external factors, internal factors, things we can't control, things we can. And so I really do think life is just a storm. Like it's a storm, and you can either choose to stay in bed all day and be recluse and be by yourself and, woe's me, it's raining outside, or you can embrace it and you can open up all the windows and invite the storm in and everything that comes with it. And I feel like that's a super important part of life is, knowing that it is a storm, and it's all about how you choose to view it and how you choose to respond to it. And so I like that. I like weathering the storm for sure.
Yeah, it's something that I kind of really leaned into the last couple months of prep for the bear crawl, because it seemed like no matter what I was doing and no matter what day it was, I was just getting beat into the ground. And I said to my buddy, I was like, dude, like, when it rains, it pours, man. Like when it's bad, it's really bad. And he said something that was kind of funny. He was like, dude, it's always raining, but like sometimes we have an umbrella. And I thought that was kind of neat. And I was just like, yeah, some days we're going to have it, some days we're not, but we still have to show up.
Yeah.
And there's always something in life, whether it's relationships or physical feats. There's always something, and something's always going to go not according to plan.
Hmm.
but it's your ability to move on your feet that makes the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that analogy of there's an umbrella, right? And I think it's also just how you choose to go about that storm, right? And it's obviously you're the new world record holder for the bear crawl, and so I know weathering a storm is something you're a very seasoned vet in, and so I definitely am super excited to talk about your mindset, your experience with that bear crawl, and I also want to remind people that you're not just the guy who bear crawled a marathon. One of the one of the big moments in our relationship as friends is being able to talk to you about my dad, and there's not a lot of people that relate just because what happened to him doesn't happen to a lot of people. But I think where me and you were able to relate is on the sense of choosing to be instrumental in y'all and you and your dad having a relationship, right? Because being raised by single moms, both of us experiencing that, there's definitely I feel a mutual level of respect and understanding with how you grew up mentally that I don't think a lot of people talk about. And so yeah, so much more. I hear a lot about you bear crawling the marathon, but you were you were dope as hell before you ever did that, and I want people to
Thank
remember that. But we're definitely going to be asking some questions because I definitely have them, and so
you.
I
Yeah,
want to ask you.
thank you, man.
I yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just saying I appreciate that, man. I know we did. You had one of the more defining moments in rekindling my relationship with my father. And for people who don't know, I my parents were divorced when I was young, and I lost communication with my father. So I'm 24, so it's been about like almost 12 years now. And I had a conversation with Will, couple almost about a year ago, man. Maybe Jesus.
Yeah,
Um, about how fortunate I am to still have my father in my life, and we kind of shared our stories, and kind of gave me a new perspective of like just being thankful that I had the opportunity to rekindle and things like that. So I'm very appreciative for you for instilling that light in me. I mean, it's not a it's not an easy conversation to have with somebody. I think that was our first phone call ever, actually.
yeah.
So
It
for you
got
to
real
come out,
deep real fast. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, but hey, that's what good friendships are, you know. And I'll always appreciate that. So thank you, man.
yeah, absolutely. I think it's important for men to talk about their mental health, and that definitely was our first conversation. I remember hearing you on the Pursuit podcast, I believe, and hear you talk about it.
Yep.
And I would always run to that podcast, and naturally, when I'm running, I'm thinking a lot. And I remember hearing you kind of talk about that, and I think I stopped running and texted you almost immediately, or after the fact, just in the sense of understanding the crossroads that you were at, and also not understanding, right? Like my dad passed away when I was 13, so I never really got the chance to choose to have that relationship with him. But
Right.
I think it's very important to talk about mental health, especially as men who are just always never really given the chance to do so, or just never taken the chance to do so. I feel like this generation of men that's coming up, people will say that we're soft, and I would just respond that we're different, right? We were raised in a different era. We were raised with different things, and I think in a way that difference is good. We were raised in a world where it's starting to become a little bit more normal to talk together, both in general about your feelings and with other men about them, and finding people that you can relate to. And so yeah, I appreciate that about you.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Thank you very much.
And so the first question that I do want to ask you is, where do you get your willpower from? Because it takes a crazy man to bear crawl a mile. It takes a very crazy man to bear crawl a half marathon. It takes an exceptionally crazy man to bear crawl a full marathon, and it takes an interesting individual to choose to go past that. And so I really want to know, besides just your willpower to do that, to endure that, where does your willpower come from on a very base level?
Um, I think you know there's two different people that I like to refer to when I talk about the bear crawl and just my life in general. I think um, my younger self, and that being myself included now, but just from the baseline of my life, it really comes from everything that I went through as a kid, everything that I had to deal with. Um, Kind of gave me a different level of grit, and an ability to just kind of put my head down and do things regardless of outside circumstances.
Hmm.
So I think, in that sense, that's where it comes from. But now, a lot of my willpower comes from, my it's a choice. A lot of my willpower is a choice that I choose every day, and it's a
Hmm.
choice to promise myself that I'm going to be someone better than I currently am,
Yeah.
and try to achieve things that I don't think I might be able to achieve. And a lot of my willpower comes from stacking these goals on top of myself that I don't feel like I'm capable of. And I think
Yeah.
it's something not a lot of us we don't give ourselves enough credit. We don't really get to tap into the natural willpower that we just have as humans.
Yeah.
And that only comes out when, we have these emotions of fear, and, you have anxiety about something, and you really care about something.
Yeah.
Um, the bear crawl was my life for a year and a half. And when
Yeah.
you invest so much time in that, and you're just fighting for a way to try and achieve it, you're naturally going to develop some sort of willpower, because you're choosing to take the hard road. So a lot of it's choice now.
Absolutely. And I think choice is big. I think understanding moments where you didn't make the choice to, dig in deep and utilize that willpower in something small, like not waking up as early as you were supposed to, right? I feel like I struggle with that big time, and I piss myself off because, you know, the will going to bed is a lot different than the will in bed. Will going to bed is like, I'm gonna get up at this time, we're gonna do it. I'm gonna go work out, I'm gonna go run at 6 a.m. instead of having to do it at night. And then the will in bed at 6 a.m. is a much different guy. And I feel like,
Yep.
some days I choose to, and I do, and then some days I lean into not, right. And I think that's a big part of it, is that you chose to for an extended period of time, and you still choose to each and every day, right. You might not excel every single time, you might not get out of bed every single time, but I think the choice is there, and I think you definitely have molded yourself into a person that chooses to do so. And I want to give you props
Yeah,
for sure.
thank you, man. Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think that the negatives, the moments where we don't have willpower are just as important. Um, I like to being an athlete. We can all relate to having our backs against the wall at a certain point, and um, we're all capable to a certain extent. And it's those moments that we don't exercise our willpower that kind of leave us with a bitter taste in our mouth.
Absolutely.
Um, and it allows you to kind of go harder. And I had some moments like that in my training where I kind of used that that emotion that I would have from not completing things.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have days where I would kind of put myself in a scenario where it's like, all right, do exactly what you feel is comfortable today.
Mm-hmm.
Wake up late, and get your push your training to the last minute,
Mm-hmm.
and then you see what happens in that scenario, and you realize, like, damn, like, that didn't feel good. That doesn't taste good. Like, I want to go back and do it right tomorrow.
Yeah.
So the negative moments are just as important as important as big ones that you remember. Winning games and all this stuff, and trying to keep, like, a reputation and all this stuff. Like, for good and bad, you can find it in both places.
Absolutely. And I think it's important that you mentioned that, in the sense of, a lot of the time I feel like I put myself in a corner to where, like last night, for example, I didn't wake up to run in the morning, and I had my sprints at night at 8:30 at night. It's dark, and I feel like I kind of like that, though. Like, in the end of the day, you have to get it done. I feel like I did that a lot in college when it would come to tests. I feel like I would, cram right before, and as inconvenient as it was, and probably not very wise, I kind of like that. I like walking to the library at 3 in the morning when it's freezing cold outside, and having to walk there because the buses aren't even running anymore, when I could have just studied earlier for it. And I feel like I almost put myself in that situation more often than I should, because you like to feel that pressure, and you like to have your back against the wall. but I think there's definitely something to say for not doing that, right? And I don't think those are necessarily different people. I think those are just, choices that you make. And I like that you
Mhm.
said that a lot of it stemmed from your younger self. And so I want you to kind of talk a little bit more about that and how that has kind of molded you into who you are today.
Yeah. So, like I said, I didn't have a good relationship with my father growing up, and my family's not really a close family. Um, we kind of just see each other when we see each other. Maybe we'll see each other once a year. Um, and it kind of affected me growing up, where I kind of didn't feel like I was, loved and all this stuff. And it made me grow up a lot faster than you kind of want a young kid to grow up.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me, have a lot of conversations with myself that, a 10-year-old kid probably shouldn't be thinking about. Like, what is a man? Like, who should a man be? And these are all
Mm-hmm.
stuff I was thinking about growing up, and seeing things, when I was younger, and dealing with adversity, whether it was from, you know, step parents telling me that I was being unrealistic and things that I was pursuing, and stuff like that. Um, it made me understand that I was solely responsible for the level of success that I achieved in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and not only that, it gives you a reason to kind of break, um, you know, generational curses, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And I have a younger brother, who's 17, and I feel like in my family we have this, the men especially have this reputation of just not being really present,
Yeah.
and not being good providers, I guess you could say. Where they take the easy route,
Mm-hmm.
and they go with their wives, and they do their thing, and they don't really, get not really involved with their kids, and um, they're just not there. They're not present. They don't
Yeah.
really, they fail to show up. Show up for themselves, and show up for people that they should want to show up for. Um, and seeing that and feeling that allowed me to kind of comprehend, like, it. I could just either take that path and be that guy, or I can make the conscious decision to make sure, like, my little brother, or my son, if I have a son one day, like, has a different example to live by.
Yeah.
And then, that will stem down to his kids and my brother's kids, and I the curse will stop with me, I guess you could say, right? um
Mm-hmm.
so, that's where my willpower now really comes from. It's like setting a good example and being somebody I didn't have, and
Mm-hmm.
it gives me a reason to do all the things that I don't want to do, because it's like, if you don't do these things, this is, you can't pretend, you can't make up, you can't pretend to be an example for somebody. Like, you actually have to take the steps and lead that life, because
Absolutely.
they don't live by what you say, they live by what you do.
Mm-hmm.
um so I know, whether my little brother watches me closely or not, or whether my kid is really watch me closely or not. It helps me sleep easier at night, knowing, like, I'm doing the right things and I'm doing what I didn't have. um so my family can be closer in the future,
Yeah.
even when I'm long gone. I've broken that dynamic, and I've created a new one. So, like I said, it allows me to dig deep and say, like, I don't want to fucking bear crawl 15 miles today. But if I don't, my brother's going to have an example of somebody who gave up, and
Yeah.
that's not the example I want to set.
Mm-hmm.
And it's up to me to break that.
Absolutely. And I like your point about, you saying that you were kind of questioning, what it was to be a man, what it was to, provide. And I think whenever you say the word provide, people always think about financial. But I think that there's so many important things that a strong male figure in your life provides, right? Thankfully, even though my dad passed, I had my uncle, I had my grandpa. I had two great men that are very different than each other, showing me different qualities of what I think was important in a man. And I
Mhm.
think, I have this overwhelming urge to be able to financially provide for my family, and things seeds I'm planting right now and things I'm planning ahead now are definitely deeply rooted in money, just because, I know the struggles my mom went through, growing up, and I know, how tough that was. And so definitely, like, financially is this super important role for me and providing. But I feel like at the same time, the things that you show your brother by you just simply doing what you say you're gonna do, even when it's rough, is it provides, it provides an example. I think it provides motivation. I think it provides a look into, someone choosing the fork in the road, right? Very little times in your life do you really see a person choose a fork in the road. And I feel like when he saw you bear crawl that ultra marathon, that he saw the fork in the road come, and he saw you choose which way you wanted to go, and I feel like that's huge.
Yeah, thank you, man. There was definitely a lot of ups and downs. There was a lot of moments I wanted to quit. He kind of kept me grounded in it, as well as a lot of other things. Um, but I'm very particular with it, especially when I'm in the presence of people that I kind of want to set an example for. It's like, you know, you provide financially, that is one way. It's an
Yeah,
important way, but you also provide in showing up for them, right? You provide to them in the way that you speak to other people, right?
yeah,
The way you speak to yourself. Um, that's what I missed. It wasn't really much a financial thing for me. It was providing in the sense of like compassion and understanding, and feeling wanted, I guess you could say,
yeah,
on a kind of a deeper level. Um, and I think that's why I'm very careful with like the words that I choose and the actions that I choose. It's because I want those people to feel what I didn't feel,
yeah.
and have it on an emotional sense.
Absolutely. And I definitely see what you're saying in an emotional sense, right? I feel like that's one of the things I struggled with the most when my dad did pass was who am I emotionally, right? Like I shut myself in a back room, kind of just was in the dark on Facebook, um, and just trying to distract myself from everything, and not really trying to feel anything, right? And so when you grow up, you have to decide like what kind of man are you? Are you the one who sits in his emotions? Are you the one who pushes them away? Are you a combo of both, which a lot of us are? And so I can definitely understand your you're faced with moments where you have to decide like who you're gonna be, and I think that you definitely experience those.
100%. I think everyone does. Um,
Yeah.
but inevitably, it does come down to a conscious decision of, who am I going to be in these next couple seconds after I have this dialogue with myself. And you don't let it snowball. And even if it does snowball, we always have those moments. We have the internal voice where it's just like, everyone knows. I truly believe everyone knows that um, they're not doing the right things or they're doing the right things.
Mm-hmm.
I think deep down we know. Some of us are just better at burying it than others. I mean, I'm very good at burying it, and that's why I kind of try and nip things in the butt right away. Because if I become comfortable with it, it becomes a problem. So I'm always having those conversations with myself. I'm always trying to ask myself, um, are you doing the right things? Did you do the right things today? Even on a smaller scale, the words you chose, the way you're speaking to people. Um, because, like I said, if I don't pay attention to it, it becomes an issue.
Yeah. So given that, I like your metaphor with the snowball effect. I think that's a big thing. I think life is a big momentum game. When things are going good, you really need to enjoy them and you need to press. And when things are going bad, you need to understand them and press. It's you're not going to enjoy it when it's going bad, but I think finding the light in a vast sea of darkness is important. And I think your why is a super
Yep.
big important part of that, right? I think some people their why is a person, right? It could be their kids, it could be their mom, it could be someone important to them, or it could be just an idea. And so I want to ask you, when you're searching for your willpower, I know finding your why is important. And so what would you say that yours is?
I had this conversation earlier. Um, I can give you one big one that I always turn to, and it bleeds into other things. I have a million whys. I think a lot of people look for one why. I think you could have a lot of whys.
Yeah.
But my biggest why is um, myself, really. And that might sound selfish,
No, not at all.
um, But yeah, but at the end of the day, right? Like I want to be the best person that I could be. That is truly my why. Like, at the end of my life, I don't want to regret. I don't want to be miserable. I don't want to be bitter. I
Yeah.
want to be happy. And that's why I do a lot of the things that I do. It's so I can become that person, and then that person allows me to show up for other people in my life. It allows me to find otherwise, like my brother, my family,
Yeah.
um, a million other things. But my why is really the person I truly believe that I can be.
Yeah.
And chasing that person, I'll never get him. I think
Mm.
Matthew McConaughey talks about that, like his heroes to pick him in 5 years. Like you're always going to be able to, you can achieve what you think you want to achieve, and then once you get it, you're going to want to go further.
Yeah.
Um, but my why is making sure that person never stops. That
Mm.
person doesn't just, I'm not dead before I'm actually dead. So
Absolutely.
that's really what drives me.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard that the other day, and I talked with Frankie about that yesterday as well. Is that, I saw the quote that a lot of people die at 25 and just aren't buried until they're 80. I think that
Mm-hmm.
that stuck with me because you know they say every day is a blessing, right? And it sounds really really corny, but every day is a blessing, and every day that you're getting to do, you're getting to choose what you're doing is as well. There's a lot of people in deadbeat jobs that are super unhappy with their life. There's a lot of people, that are just unhappy with where they are and aren't really quite yet ready to do something about it. And I think
Yeah.
that those people have a level of power that they don't understand, in the sense of you saying, that you are your why. And I think that people are so afraid to be selfish and so afraid to talk about wanting something for themselves that they discredit that person that deserves it, right? The reason why I
Mm-hmm.
started in the gym, that started me having a personal training business and everything, I was going to be an English teacher because I loved the way that class helped me learn how to communicate not only with myself but with other people. You know, I think that people definitely shy away from being selfish because
Yeah.
whenever I started everything in the entire Built by Will training brand, it was all from just wanting to be a more confident version of myself. I feel like I hated where I was at mentally. I hated where I was at physically. 6'2", 140 pounds. Growing up, you see that men are strong and you want to be strong, and you don't feel strong mentally. You don't feel strong physically. I think that that's a really big deal. In
Mm-hmm.
addition to that, I think that I would have never started this if I didn't get the confidence that I got from the gym, and if I would have never found that confidence if I didn't chase it, right? I went after exactly why I didn't feel confident, and at that time it was how I felt physically, and then it kind of it transferred to how I felt mentally, right? I was able to kind of confront that demon, and then you're able to kind of wipe all the sweat and tears and blood, and you're able to go for another demon, right? And I feel like that's definitely a part of life, is just chasing down those demons, and really, once you get done with another, you keep going, because we have a lot of them. We have a lot of skeletons in our closet that I don't think we address. And so I like your concept of being selfish and it being okay, right? Because you're doing it for you at the end of the day. Like, if you don't do things for you, if you're always living for other people, whether that's parents just, surrounding their entire life with their child and forgetting everything about who makes them who they want to be. I feel like that's huge. I feel like people live, in fear forever, not for anyone and not for themselves. And I feel like more people should be selfish for sure.
100%. I mean, if you don't live for yourself, you can't live for anybody. Um, or you could try to, but if you don't really understand yourself and you don't understand um, why you're doing the things that you do, or what you actually love to do in life, you're never going to be able to give other people what you want to give them. And I think that's important for people to understand, because it's like I talk about being unbalanced a lot, because balance is something that I'm currently trying to restore in my life. But it took the period of being unbalanced and focusing on myself for me to now be who I am and be the person I am for other people. And it's a much better person than I was a year ago. I can
Mm.
provide so much more. Um, So being selfish in life, not all the time, but at least a portion of the time, is crucial in the way you show up with everybody else. You know, you can give tenfold.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it it's a switch that you can turn on and off. I feel like when you put your head down and grind, you learn a lot about yourself, and you when you pick your head up, you're in a totally different spot. And I think that there's a lot to say for someone who's able to do that and learns when to do that. And I think it's something that you also got to turn on and off every day, right? Like if the gym is important to you and makes you feel good. One of my clients asked me that today. She was like, "How do you enjoy this? You know, like this sucks." And it was kind of hard to answer because it's such a staple in my life that you almost forget like why you do it. Besides that, it just makes you feel good. And I think if more people took an hour a day to do whatever it is that made them feel good, that they would have a better day. Whether that's going to the gym, whether that's walking their dog, whether that's doing whatever hobby that they have. I feel like we pour from our cup so much that we forget to fill it up. And you can't pour from an empty cup. You just can't, or you're going to keep giving other people nothing, right? The quality of what you're going to pour is just not going to be there anymore. And I feel like people need to fill up their cup more. And that's seen as selfish or whatever, but I feel like you can show up for other people so much better when you are.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't agree more. And to your point, it's funny because I talked to Devin the other day.
Mm-hmm. How'd that
We,
go,
we
dude?
kind
I was super excited for you to talk to him.
of it was a really cool combo, man. He's a very insightful dude, very energetic dude. It was a really cool combo, but it's kind of what we talked about. We talked about just loving life, and to your point, with your client saying like, how do you like this? And you said, you know, some people don't make the time to do what they like. I'll take it even further, like myself included. Some people don't even really know what they like,
Yeah,
you know, and that's
absolutely.
kind of what I talked about with him. Because I asked him about content and things like that, and he was just saying like, "What do you like?" And I was just like, "I don't even know. Like, I couldn't even tell you, man. Like, I don't really know what I like.
Yeah,
And my whole life was just focused around one thing." And he was like, "Well, that's the key, man. You got to figure out what you like, and just do that. Just keep doing that. And you know, if you don't know what you like, you're not gonna be able to help anybody else find what they like, or find
yeah,
figure out how they feel, or feel better in their own life. So, like you said, it's the quality of what you're pouring into other people is insignificant because you can't even pour into yourself.
mm-hmm.
You can't pour from an empty cup. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that metaphor when you get on the plane where they tell the parents to put on their mask before they put in their kids, and everyone you talk to is like, obviously that's not going to happen. They're going to put their kids, before them. But imagine, imagine like a life for those kids without their parents. Because they didn't put on their mask, the kids made it, but they did, and then who are the kids going to have to take care of them? And so I feel like, if people were just more selfish for a bit, even if that's an hour a day, even if that's 30 minutes a day, even if it's 5 minutes a day, I feel like every bit of pouring into ourselves is only going to help. And I think, again, people are starting to talk about it more. So I think we're definitely trending in the right direction.
100%. I mean, it takes the conversation to continue, which is why it's good to even talk about it on this setting. But yeah, I think it's important to understand that like even the most successful people do it. And I think once it stems from it stems from the top. And eventually we'll be there, so it'll be our word that people are following.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I agree. I think especially the most successful people are the ones that do it, right? I think that they're constantly, searching for that moment of, being able to fill their cup so they can fill others. And I think that again, it's your willpower to know that even though in that moment it might feel like it's taking away, that it's actually going to provide for you. And I think that's a perfect segue into the next question that I wanted to ask is, talk about a moment in your life. I know obviously your willpower came in from you bear crawling the marathon. So I definitely want to leave that one out because I think it's blatantly obvious that it got you through that. But tell me about a moment in your life where your willpower was what pushed you through when otherwise you definitely wouldn't have made it.
Oof. My my graduate year of college
Hmm.
was a big year for me. Um, it was 2021, I believe. It was right after COVID, and my senior season got canceled, and I went back to next year. And willpower definitely pulled me through to that point because I was nothing like I am today. I was, I was drinking all the time. I was doing dumb shit. I was out partying all the time. I was failing classes, and it got to a point where my season got canceled with COVID, and we got sent home from college, and I kind of had to look at my life and just be like, this shit's a mess, dude. Like you were one big mistake, dude. Um, and that moment's probably where willpower pulled me forward because like everything in me was just telling me like you're worth nothing. You're kind of useless. Like your life is pretty much done.
Yeah.
Um, but it was that little bit of willpower that was just like maybe we could fucking turn this around. Maybe like that was that little voice in the corner, just like maybe you could. It wasn't even a bear crawl, it wasn't anything at that point. It was just like maybe you could fall in love with working out. Maybe you could be someone that's worth something. Um, and through that whole process, like going that whole summer and fall, I was just it was just straight willpower. Just like you're looking in. I've gone through where like you're looking in the mirror, you don't see results, and it's just like you just bury your head again. And you look up and maybe you see a little bit, and you feel a little better, and you keep doing it. Um, so that was probably more than even really training, because like training, I knew I had something to look forward to. That was
Yeah.
probably the biggest moment of willpower in my life for sure.
So, so you're saying that summer, that summer of the graduate program was when you dug deep the most. What happened that summer? What choices did you make?
Yeah, I kind of decided that I was going to change everything. Um, I was really unhappy with my life. Like I said, I was drinking and doing all a bunch of bad shit. And I just decided I was just like go against everything that you currently are doing and believe to be like the right way to do things.
Mm.
Um, you know, Maintaining these friendships that you're questioning because like you're going out right in college with your friends are like wild stuff, man. Like like hitting on your girlfriend or whatever, and like you tolerate it, and like it's college, like oh you're my friends, we're drinking, whatever. It's a bunch of BS and stuff, and I was like, gotcha.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, I don't have to buy into that stuff, And I was
Yeah.
like, I'm not gonna believe those things anymore. Like I'm gonna truly try and believe like what I believe to be true,
Yeah.
and believe to be right. So I decided to get in shape. I decided to stop drinking, and I decided to just get my life together, really. Um, and I never looked back.
Yeah. I feel you, man. The decision to change your lifestyle is a big one. I feel that 3 years ago, looking at myself now, I would have thought I was just boring, right? Just I still don't. I don't hate drinking. I just don't see it adding value to my life otherwise in a celebratory mood, right? Like at a wedding or on vacation or something like that. But it just doesn't add a lot of value to me right now. And I think that as selfish as it is to, you know, tell friends that want to go out that it just doesn't add value to you at the moment, I think that, you know, being able to understand you're just at a phase in your life where it's just not who you want to be at the moment. And I think that that's big, right? I know I had that summer of turning everything around where I was walking to the gym in the rain in high school my senior year because I just wanted to be bigger, dude. I wanted to have girls hit on me. I wanted to make more friends, and I knew I was going to college. And growing up, my mom was very very blunt when she said that you're either going to stay home and you're going to pay bills, or you're going to go to college and you're going to pay bills. And so I think that did really good for me because I didn't have any other option. I knew I was going to school. I wanted to be someone different. when I got there. And I wanted to go to college more confident. My brother was in a fraternity at the time. I just wanted to go and party with my brother and, you know, meet friends and, you know, make memories and all that stuff. And I remember that summer, you know, walking in the rain, bringing a change of clothes, changing into some dry clothes, working out, putting back on those wet clothes, walking back home in the rain. And I think that definitely shaped me into who I am today. And so I can definitely relate to that summer that you had where you had that fuck it moment, I like to call it, when you were just like, you know what, fuck this. Like, fuck this. Like, even if, you know, I think when people think that they have those moments, they think that's who they have to be forever, right? Like, just because I don't drink now doesn't mean I never will. It just doesn't add value to me right now. And I'm chasing the things and I'm chasing the people that add value in my life right now because I think I'm at a very important moment where you either go with the momentum and you jump into the river with the current, or you sit there and you really try to fight against it, which is both exhausting and you realize you don't really get anywhere. And so I definitely can relate to you having that summer.
Yeah, I'm at an interesting point now with drinking. Like, you know, haven't really drank that much the past year, but like I said, I'm not against it. I'll do it. I'm still young. I'll have fun, but it's just like I'm at the point in my life now where I think there's a kind of a double standard where it's just like, oh, you know, you can't tell people, oh, you know, going out and doing this stuff doesn't add value to my life. And
Yeah.
that's frowned upon. But on the same token, I'm like, I'll go drink with you. Like, come fucking work out with me. Like, come bear crawl tomorrow. Nah, no. Why would I do that?
Exactly.
What do you mean? Why would you do that? I feel the same way really about going out. I'll do it, but if you're really my friend, like you'll come, you know, I'll have your fun, you have my fun. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Well, this could be a 2-way street. You know,
Absolutely.
no one thing is bad. It's just the intention. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if you're going out and drinking and partying with no intention, it's a waste of my time.
Absolutely.
But if you're my friend and you want to go out and have a good time, and then tomorrow we're gonna do what we need to do, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
But when you ask those people to have your type of fun and do the things that you like to do, they're MIA, and it's okay, it's acceptable, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
I'm no longer surrounding myself with those people. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna go just this is not me just pleasing you and having your type of fun. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'll be you know if you're my friend and you really push me and elevate me, and you want me to go out with you and have fun, you're probably not also going to be someone that's going to push me to do dumb shit. You know,
Yes. Or
so I
do
can go
or
out and
just
have fun.
drink if you don't want to drink, right? Like
Exactly.
such a simple thing that you're telling me that I can't have fun if I don't drink. When it's more so that you
Yeah.
can't have fun if you don't drink. And I think that the drinking thing is super simple in the sense of if it adds value to my experience in that moment, then I'm going to choose to do it. And if it
Exactly.
doesn't add value to my experience in that moment, then I just don't want to, right? Like, I have no problem going out to dinner and just not having a drink because
Exactly.
I just I don't want to in that moment. But if I'm at a dinner with a friend who I'm trying to catch up with and you know and I'm feeling it and I want to, then awesome. But I think that people definitely think that it either has to be one way or it has to be the other way. And
Yeah.
I like your notion of talking about people that you know don't want to go do what's fun for you, even though that they want to do what's fun for them. And you know I have a very few friends in my life, one especially who's been my friend forever, and me and him went and had dinner the other night and just had dinner and caught up and dropped him back off wherever he was, and it was simple, right? I feel like I'm at a phase in my life where I need low maintenance people around me in the sense of not saying that I can be selfish and ignore those relationships, but more so that you know I have my eyes and my focus on a lot of other things right now, and I just need the people in my life to understand that you know there's times where I'm gonna have more to give, attention wise, but right now isn't one of those times, and
Yeah.
I think it's important to surround yourself with those people because they keep you honest.
Yeah. That's really important. It's tough to find friends like that. Who I think they kind of occur naturally. Like I have a majority of my friends. It's like I don't know when I'm going to see you. I don't know when I'm going to talk to you. But when I see you and when we speak, like it's going to be like we never skipped a beat.
Absolutely.
And most of those people have their own visions and have the things that they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
stopping going out and pleasing people and feeding those friendships that weren't even really friendships
Mm-hmm.
allowed me to get those people closer to me that understand, that get it. They're like, dude, I know you got a lot on your plate, man. Like, don't worry about it. Don't sweat it, or
Absolutely.
they don't push me to, they believe that I'm making the right choices for myself, and they don't try and get me to do things that I don't want to do.
Absolutely.
Then on the same token, it makes you want to do more for those people, when you're tired and you're like, maybe, maybe I should give maybe I should give them a call,
Mm-hmm.
maybe I should, make a little bit more effort, because they're so understanding,
Mm-hmm.
where the other people kind of push you away and they don't even realize it.
No, yeah, I agree. I think that those people have passions too, and I don't think that they have to be passionate about the gym or they have to be passionate about, running a business, or that they need to be passionate about any specific activity. They can be passionate about their family, and they can be passionate about,
Right.
the things that they do for others around them. And I think that there's passion that lies in that. When I was younger, I thought that I needed people who did exactly what I did around me, and now that I'm
Right.
growing up, I'm understanding that I don't need that at all. I don't think I need anyone around me who does exactly what I do. I think different people provide different levels of value in your life, and I think that people just understanding what it's like to see someone chasing something, right?
Yep.
That they've chased something before, whether that's a relationship with a family member, whether that's a passion, whether that's a career, whether that's a sport, you know whether that's just bettering themselves, right? They can see when someone's doing that, and they can understand what they're doing. And you know what, whenever you have time, I would love to see you, and anytime that you check in, that it's all positive. And I think that having those people in your life is super important.
Yeah, I think they end up being your closest friends.
Absolutely.
But it's attractive to have people in your life that are visionaries, that have goals and ambitions, regardless of what it is that they care about. As long as they care about something, as long as you're
Absolutely.
trying to achieve something in some capacity.
Yeah, I love that for sure. And so we've talked about the positive moment, the positive moments when your willpower was enough. Finishing the marathon, your willpower was enough. Not a lot of people's would be, right? And I think a lot of people in that predicament, a lot of people, including myself, wouldn't have gotten there, and their willpower wouldn't have been enough. And so, talk to me about a moment, with this huge feat of willpower in your life, where you demonstrated that your willpower was enough and that you're someone who has an exceptional level of it. Talk about a moment where your willpower wasn't enough, and no matter how hard you fought, it wasn't there, and you fell short.
Yeah, 4 years of college. My first 4 years of college, there was no willpower present at all. Um, you weren't getting me to do anything uncomfortable, whether it was physical. I didn't work out at all. I worked out when I had to, maybe like once a week with the team.
Yeah.
Um, what was mandatory. School, I didn't study. If you put it in front of me, I wasn't even gonna look at it. I bought all the textbooks. Probably didn't even open
Yeah,
them.
I feel you there.
Every every party I shouldn't have gone to, I went to. Uh, all the things I shouldn't have done, I did. Um, Complete 180 of who I am today. Um, so there was a lot of moments that I can get into. Um, Even like I remember, this is actually kind of a funny story now, but I failed chemistry my sophomore year, and like
Mm-hmm.
to the point where I was like 2 points away from like just passing the class in the final exam, and didn't study at all. Just looked at the test and I was like, yeah, there's no shot, and left. And like that's pretty much the prime as it gets, is like zero willpower. I didn't even give myself a fighting chance. I was just like, I'm out of here. Like I'm beat.
Yeah.
Um, so the whole 4 years of college was just negative willpower.
Absolutely, I can understand that. In my first 2 years, I definitely partied really hard, and I'm sorry for to everybody listening for all this sniffling, but partied really, really, really hard. And I think looking back at it, I can enjoy those moments where I had fun, but also realize, I definitely had the moment where I understood that I was just gonna fuck everything up if I didn't, turn the page. And so thankful that I did, right? But
Yeah.
totally can relate with, being in college and just fucking around, right? And at the moment you're like, I'm living. Looking back, I'm glad I went to some parties. I'm glad I met people and was very social. I think it's definitely attributed to who I am today. But what did you learn from yourself? After that, right? Looking back, I'm able to look back at my college years and see that the Will with the newfound confidence wanted to flex it a little bit, and he did. And so looking back at those 4 years of college, what did you learn from that?
I learned everything I didn't want to do, and I learned everything I didn't want to be. Um, I think when we have experiences like that, it's almost better because I think you learn a lot more from the things that you don't want to do than the things that you do want to do. You learn a little bit more about yourself. Um, but I learned a lot about my bad qualities, qualities I needed to work on. I learned a lot about my insecurities, my anxieties, and it allowed me to kind of not really face them during that time. But when it came to making the decision to change my life, I knew what I needed to work on, because I had all those examples to look back on, where I failed to show up and do the right stuff, or stuff that I felt I wanted stuff that I didn't really agree with that didn't sit well. Um, so I learned a lot about the man I didn't want to be, which is very powerful because it gives me, like, you want to talk about willpower, like, gives me the reason to double down on tough days now because it's just like I know the man I don't want to be. Like, I lived it. I was him before. So, like, if I don't keep doing what I'm doing, I'm going to be that guy again. And it's a scary, scary thought.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you were able to look back at that and see some things that you wanted to change, and not only wanted to change but did change, right? But let me ask you, what positives did you get from those 4 years where you were fucking around and doing a lot of shit you weren't supposed to, and going to parties you weren't supposed to, and walking out of tests that you're supposed to take, and um, workouts you didn't make? What positive things did you learn about yourself from that?
I'm really good with my back against the wall, and sometimes you need the fuck it mentality,
Yeah.
where sometimes you just kind of have to be like the gritty, that's not going to look pretty. It's ugly, and I learned a lot about dealing with failure and persevering.
Mm-hmm.
I faced a lot of adversity there, where even if I folded, I still continued to show up. I think my athletic background kind of held me accountable there, where um, it was like the only kind of thing I had that really gave me any credibility.
Yeah.
So if I quit the team and did all that stuff, um, I really would have been nobody. So
Yeah.
it kind of allowed me to skate by, but like to turn that into a positive, really be okay with like saying, yeah, fuck it, I failed, whatever, I'm showing up, you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, and um, being being okay with that, being okay with um, having people, maybe teachers or professors or other, people of authority look at you kind of like and count you out and turn it around.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the fuck it moment is big. And I definitely, like I said before, I can relate to putting myself against a wall. Oh man.
Yeah.
But I think another part of the fuck it moment is just going with the flow, right? Like understanding that you're on a ride that you have no control over, and I feel like I can still do that. I can still go and absolutely just fuck it and have fun, have as much fun as I can, and the dance in the
Yeah.
rain if it's gonna rain, and
Mm-hmm.
when the rain stops, you can kind of just reevaluate and go from there. I think there's a lot of moments in your life where you got to do that, right? I think a lot of the time I got to go on vacation and do that. I feel like I struggle on vacation because I can't stop thinking about work, and
Yeah.
not even in the sense of always worrying about my clients, which I do all the time, but also always worrying about what's next. And I feel like I fail to be present, you know, a big majority of the time in situations that I should, and I'm working on that 100%. In the sense of, gotta go on vacation and get off my phone and not bring my laptop, and just go with the flow. And it's hard, right? Like, it's hard to, when you're training for the bear crawl, to go with the flow, because you're just so intense, right? I feel like I'm definitely at a moment in my life where I'm so intense with um, just like the day to day. Like, I gotta be up at 6. I gotta run at 6. Then I gotta go to client at 8. Then I gotta go to the chiropractor at 9. Then I gotta go to a meeting at 11, 12, and 1. Then I gotta eat at 2. Then I gotta do videos on my phone at 3. Then I gotta go to clients at 4, 5, 6, and 7. Then I gotta go home and make dinner. Like, and it's like, where do I give myself room to just enjoy the day at any point in that, when I'm just so intense all the time, right? And the ADHD medicine helps that, and it contributes towards that intensity, because without it, I'm very spacey, and I'm very bad at following through, and I'm very in my head for sure. I feel like I'm definitely less direct, and I'm much more passive when I'm not consistently on my medicine. And I feel like there's definitely a lot to be said about being in a moment, saying fuck it, and just letting go and having fun.
Yeah, just letting life kind of play out and just reacting instead of trying to control. I think it's a balance, right? Sometimes you gotta take the bull by the horn. Sometimes you just gotta let it play. And I think both are just as equally as important.
Absolutely. I'm not a gambling man, but if I ever was, going to craps and just putting it all on 7. Every time I see people do that in the movies, I'm like, man, I could never. But I would love to have that freedom in that moment of just, fuck it, dude. Everything's on 7. Like, I know you going into the bear crawl, things weren't looking good, and you were just like fuck it. We're gonna see how much we can push this, right? And I think that's a big part of even starting a business, where I'm like, you know what, I have no idea what I'm doing, but let's see, And so I think you definitely live your life like that, and
You have to.
and yeah, absolutely. And so I know we talked briefly about who you were when you were younger, and how that shaped you into who you are today. And so, something that you would want to tell yourself, your younger self, about willpower, that you think not only could have contributed to the moment that you were in when you were younger, but also could have changed things?
Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
When you're young, what would you tell your younger self about willpower that could have changed things in your life?
I would tell myself, probably, the more you put on your plate, the more of it you're gonna find. Um,
Like that.
the more responsibility you have, the more of a reason you're gonna want to have to get those things done. Um, it's probably it. I think, like I said in the beginning, I don't think we give ourselves enough credit. I don't think we challenge ourselves hard enough. You
Yeah.
know, in order to find the level of willpower that we might want, we have to commit to something that we've never committed to before. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, you can't just pull it out of nowhere. It has to It has to come from something, and I think it comes from having a lot on your plate and having no way to get it done besides barreling through.
You gotta eat. You know. It reminds me of when I was a kid, and my parents, dude. Oh, this was the worst. So my dad used to overcook meat on the grill all the time. Would always overcook it. And when you overcook meat, it's dry. It's dry as hell, right? And so I remember I'd be at the dinner table, dude, and I just couldn't finish this steak that he made extra well done, or this pot roast that he made extra well done, or this chicken that he made extra well done, and they would put a freaking timer on the microwave, and I had until that timer was done to finish my food, or shit was about to go down. And I remember, dude, I would be a mess, just an absolute, just disgusting mess of tears and just like
Yeah.
chewing. And you know when you chew on a piece of meat, or a piece of dry meat, and it just like wads up in your mouth, and you just keep chewing and chewing and chewing, and I'm
Yep. Doesn't
crying and I'm
stop.
crying and I'm crying, and it's just like, and the timer's ticking down, and you know you would think that this isn't a movie. This is like the most like climactic thing that's gonna happen in the entire day, and I'm this dramatic mess, right? And then I finish it, and he's like, "Was it really
Right.
that bad?" You know. And of course, I made the biggest scene, dude. If there would have been people there, CPS would have been called. It would have been just they're just destroying this kid, and you finish it, and he's like, "See, like you're fine," and then you just you kind of fucking you wipe the tears, and you're just like, and you're kind of left feeling dumb for how big of a scene you made about finishing some meat on your plate, right? And
That's
I think that that's like a definitely like a way to just. There's no way you're gonna know if you can do something unless you just put it on your plate. And
mhm.
at the end of the day, you have no choice but to eat. You can either eat
Yeah.
or you can sit at the table with the timer on, crying your eyes out, throwing the biggest fit. And if I didn't finish that food, my ass got whooped. You know, and you can either choose to eat or you can choose to get that ass whooping. And I definitely think it's a choice, right?
100%. You just gotta you have to put yourself in the scenario to find it. You gotta get the get. You know, you won't find it
Absolutely.
unless you have something that brings it out.
Absolutely, and again, I wanna thank you for being the type of person that motivates me to go after it. Right. I think it's important to
Yeah.
have those people in your life that inspire you. I didn't want to talk to you too much about the bear crawl today. One, because I listened to you talk with Joe about it extensively, and two, I just feel like people don't really talk to you about anything besides that these days. And so
Mhm.
I wanted to take the chance to sit down and have an awesome conversation with you. And so I thank you for coming today, for inspiring me. I'm never gonna bear crawl a marathon. I will meet you in person one day, and I will bear crawl about 100 meters. That's probably the most you're gonna get out of me, and I'm gonna complain the entire way. I just want you to know that. But
I'll take what I can
nonetheless,
get.
yeah, you're getting 100 meters out of me, max, bro, max. But
That's fine, man. I'll take what I.
yeah, um, definitely want to thank you for being an awesome friend and hopping on here to talk today. I like having conversations with my guys over things that are sometimes serious but also really aren't. And I think life is what you make it for sure, and I think more than that, life is your environment and who you surround yourself with. And so definitely choosing to continue to surround myself with you and people like you.
Likewise, man. I couldn't appreciate you more. I'm thankful for you having me on. I'm thankful for you also switching up the questions like you said it does. I've been talking about it a lot. And I think
Are you tired of
we come
talking about it
from
at this point?
you know what's funny is I'm not really tired of talking about it um, because I'm very proud of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's kind of it's interesting because like I'm kind of like developing new perspectives on it like each time I have a conversation.
Yeah,
Because everybody asks different questions, kind of just worded differently.
yeah,
Um, but like you said, one of my big things now is not being the bear crawl guy. Being James Boria.
yeah.
I've kind of been pulled away from that. So I do. I want to move on a little bit. I want to
Hmm.
acknowledge it, and I want to. It's a good story.
Hell yeah,
It's a
it's a good
great feat.
story. It's a hell of a story, bro. You're gonna be
Thank
talking
you,
about
man.
that shit forever, and I will be too.
I
Seeing I was talking to everybody about it just here in San Antonio, and people were like, "Who? Like what? Like why would he do that?" I'm like, "I don't know, man, but that's crazy that he's doing it." That whole day I was on my phone, bro, checking and checking, and when shit wouldn't load, I'd get mad. I'd get mad because I was like, I really wanted to, I part of me was like, dude, there's no way, like, there's no way that, and I want to be honest with you, like at some
yeah,
points I doubted you 100%. I did because I was like, dude, this is just there's no way. Like I saw you only really get to 18. And I kept checking because I wanted to see how close you were going to get before it. And I was like, if anyone can do it, it's him. I know if I had to do it, I would fail. But I was astounded when you finished it. I was just like, damn, man, he actually did it,
Thank you.
And being one
Yeah.
of your friends, I can definitely like be honest with that. I was surprised because I think anyone would be like, damn, dude.
No, dude, I appreciate that because I know, but I was making fun of everybody there because I was like, you motherfuckers, you definitely had a moment where you were like, I don't know.
Oh, dude,
Everyone was like, no, no, and I'm like, you're full of shit. I had those moments where I was just like, I don't know if I'm gonna pull this off.
dude,
So I
yeah,
was like, you guys
definitely,
definitely, there were some bad moments. There
absolutely.
were
And
some
I
tough
think,
moments, dude.
dude, I can't. If I would have been there, it would have been. I know I told you I wanted to be there, but then when it got closer, I realized I couldn't be there. I couldn't watch you go through that amount of pain, but you did it, man. And I want to give you a second to, if you want to declare a next crazy feat, the Built by Will podcast, episode 3 would be a perfect place to do it. And if not, I want to ask you though, what is next?
Yeah, I have a couple things in mind, and I already said I said it on the other podcast this morning. Um, so again, like I say these things loosely. Um, and
Until it
what's next for me
happens.
right now is yeah. There's a couple things, but really, what's next for me right now, like in this next year, I would say, or at least till next fall, so a year. Um, it's kind of just find what drives me in life, right? Find kind of something outside of physical feats that really motivates me and gets me excited to wake up every morning. But
Yeah.
um, to probably what everybody wants to hear. I'm looking at a couple, like probably a week straight of Ironmans. I think I'm going to try and tackle next.
A week
Um,
straight. So for seven
so that'll
days
be
or for 5 days or how many?
7 days.
Ironman? 7 days in a
Seven.
row. You're gonna complete an Ironman
That's what I
7
have
days
my
in a
eye
row.
on.
Shit.
Yeah, that's what I've been mulling over because do you know the Iron Cowboy?
I've heard of him.
Yeah, he did 100, and like during training, I used to watch that documentary all the time.
100
So
days
I
in a
was like, it would
row.
only make sense that like 100 days in a row, dude.
Holy shit! So
Hasn't
that's a
happened.
marathon. That's a marathon. 100 days in a row,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah, crazy, crazy.
Oh
So I was like, I
man.
kind of want to know what that feels like, and I think it would be cool I'm not really obsessed with reinventing the wheel, you know. Um, just I don't need these new brand crazy ideas. So
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna try maybe shoot for that next spring. I don't know again. I don't know where the road will take me, but that's what I have my eye on for sure.
Dang. That's wild. I'm over here training for a half marathon, and you're gonna run 7 of them 7 days in a row, and complete the other events of a full 70.3 Ironman, which is
Yep.
wild. But
Yeah,
I'm
do my
here for
best.
it. I'm here for it, bro. I will run a few miles with you for sure. You know.
Please, dude. I'm already planning it out in my head. I'm gonna get a nice like Airbnb somewhere nice. I'm gonna have everyone come out for the week, and we'll just have like a little controlled environment where like I go out every day and just do it, but we have food at the house. Everybody there. It'll be a cool thing. So
Absolutely, I will be there. I'll be at the house chilling for most of it. I'll run some miles with you each day. But that's awesome, man. I love that. Okay, so
I
Ironman
appreciate it.
7 days in a row is next for Mr. James Boria. I appreciate
Yeah.
having you on today. You heard it here first in Ironman 7 days in a row. I hope you haven't said it anywhere else, but you probably did, knowing you. But
Depends on
uh,
who comes out first.
exactly. So tell the people where to find you, where's best to communicate with you, so that way they can learn more about you and about this incredible feat that's coming up and has already passed.
Yeah, so I'm most active on Instagram, which is my handle is just james.boria. Um, it's Boria. If you message me on Instagram, I'll get back to you. And there's some good footage on there. I'm also on YouTube. It's just my name again. There's a 25-minute mini documentary of the whole bear crawl event, the whole 31-mile bear crawl on my YouTube channel. So if you guys want to check that out and see the nitty gritty, it's on there. And TikTok as well. I do some kind of vlogs on TikTok, my training and things like that, days in the life. So And that's just my name, James Boria. So those are the three places where you can find me.
Absolutely, man. I'm super excited to have you on today, and I want to thank you again. I know it's late, but I'm excited for you, man. Excited to keep connecting and keep learning more about you. And say hello to your dad for me, for sure. Shout out to him. Say hi. And thank you again.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate having me on.